Hi and welcome back. The Etude number 9 by Delecluse has become very popular for college and professional auditions, so I'll make a few points before playing. As to head selection and tuning, I use a Mark V, it's a Remo Mark V diplomat head, which is thinner than the regular diplomat. And then I'm going to sand down the rough coat off of the head. First by sanding with 300 grit paper, wiping it clean, doing 440 grit, wiping it clean, and then finally 600 grit right over the area where I intend to play the softest. The top head is tuned to a high B flat, and the bottom head is tuned to sound a fifth higher. Okay, now as far as the music is concerned, it's imperative that you maintain a clear sense of pulse and phrasing throughout. Since trinary time has an inherent lilt built into it, it becomes challenging when you have a lot of really complex and compressed rhythms as you do in this piece. Basically, you're going to have to clarify whether these patterns are falling from the beat or moving towards the strong beat. And when you have a standalone group of 4 30 seconds, make sure that the last note trail is off and not to be accented, otherwise you'll create a shift in pulse. Now, as to sticking, I play most of this with alternated sticking, but do some multiple groupings with one hand in a few places. If you're going to play this at slower tempos, I would be very reluctant to use double sticking, especially on a multi-strainer drum, unless the sticks, of course, are always playing on the same exact types of cables. Otherwise, consistently doubling 30-second notes, especially the slower ones, only highlights and exacerbates any unevenness in the sound. If you decide to play doubles, such as at the beginning, make sure you're playing with a perfect lift action with the stick rather than a wrist pivot, so that you don't emphasize pairs of double notes. Now, this is a great opportunity to demonstrate musicality. I've heard a lot of people play this piece, and some very, very fine technical players. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but a lot of them can lack expression. While it's great technical practice to play things digitally across the line for the sake of mastering your control, it can become quite insipid to listen to as a final product. So remember, within any given dynamic range, there is some room for shading. I think of mezzo forte as a range, not a static dynamic. So there's a range where there's some movement there. But don't overreach and create totally new dynamics. And in an audition situation, be sure to demonstrate musicality, musical shape right from the beginning, and always strive for the longer musical lines. Now, the French love to exaggerate dynamics in this piece, especially for the soft ones. So show subtleties and bring life to the written page. Now, tempo. It's true the top range is written for 69. Now, that doesn't include the factor of acoustics, and that becomes a big factor in determining your tempo. If you're playing in a live room or hall, playing on the fast side can result in a blur. You may want to show off your great technique, but the committee won't have a sense of clarity or what you're trying to do. So be smart and slow it down to what I call an acoustically approved and appropriate tempo. Now, my studio is dry, so I can get away with playing this in a faster range. 66 allows me to play, clarify the ebb and flow of the musical line and still play briskly. One additional word of caution, though. Don't be thrown off your game plan in regards to sticking if you're suddenly asked to play this at a much slower tempo, such as 60. It may be because the committee can't hear all the complex rhythms you're playing, and they're asking you to play at slower speed for clarity. So have an alternate plan for your sticking. And one word on embellishments. French embellishments are pretty tight and compressed. I refer to the roughs here as zip roughs. Keep everything crisp, and yes, the flams in measure 17 are stacked. Now, I forgot to mention one other thing. Final thing I'll mention is dampening. I use a small piece of micro spandex on the top head. This not only dampens the drum for the articulation I want, but since it has some weight to it, it helps control what I call head bounce back. After playing some very loud patterns and suddenly you drop to super soft, it helps control the head and get it right down for the first few notes of the soft playing, so that you have a sense of control. And of course, you can buy this at a fabric store near you. Okay, thank you, enjoy, and thanks for listening.